le van a quitar la bola en la raya así a
corre mucho. Te la robaron como un niño.
¿Qué es Alfonso Davies?
Te la robaron como un niño.
Alfonso Davies, hermano, tienes que correr. No juegas más con Andrade, no juegas más.
Gol
no
de
juegas
entrenamiento.
Those guys in Panama basically look like me watching the Pittsburgh Steelers this season.
That was just so amazing.
Wasn't it? Welcome back, Vanessa.
Thanks so much, Mark.
So great to see you. I was actually going to put out an APB on Don Mayo, but I heard him. I haven't seen him, but I heard his voice yesterday on our Sponsorship X clubhouse session for the Canadian Sponsorship Landscape Study. Easy for me to say. But as always, I'm much happy that you're here.
Oh, thanks. I'll let Don know as well. So how'd you feel when you heard his voice? Did you feel your heart flutter a little bit?
Well, you know, I think we'll get a little group dinner together with you and me and Mike and Karen and Don and me, and then we'll talk more about that. But back to Alfonso Davies. What an amazing goal. And one of the neatest things that I saw online was a headline on a CBC article that called Alfonso Davies the Christine Sinclair of our men's national team. Like, we flipped the bar. Like, she's the world's greatest international goal scorer ever. And wow, what a move. What a goal.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I also love how John Herdman in all of his interviews, he's like, we are not here to be peacekeepers. We're here for the fight. And that's, I mean, the electricity in that stadium, you could feel it just watching it on a video. So
I live down in Little Italy, and I'm probably about, 5 kilometers from the stadium, and I was outside doing some chores, and you could hear the roar. So it's probably the first time that the Canadian men's soccer teams ever felt like they had that home pitch advantage that teams get in other markets like Panama. So amazing. We've got a lot to do, so let's jump into it. So let's queue up a quick video, and then I want you to take us through Weekly Pulse.
Some people just can't wait for Friday. But what if you worked at one of the most hated companies in America? Well, 24/7 Wall Street put together a list using customer satisfaction surveys, reviews on Glassdoor, and news events over the last year. On the list, shocker, the Weinstein Company. The once powerful Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein is now one of the most hated figures in the United States following multiple sexual misconduct allegations. So much for flying the friendly skies, United. Angry protesters formed at United terminals after Dr. David Dow was dragged through the aisle. Stock fell 4% after the incident. The company ranks one of the lowest for customer service. Facebook has been scrutinized for acting as a medium for fake ads and news. The company scored a 68 out of 100 on the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Uber has faced lawsuits and scandal when its former CEO Travis Kalanick got into an argument with an Uber driver. And an essay from a former employee about a workplace culture of sexism and harassment was published, putting the company also on the list of most hated companies. So when Friday finally does come, you may even consider finding another way home than hopping on your Uber app.
Well, you know what? I'm on a plane, a United flight from Houston to Austin in 2 weeks, so I'll let you know if they drag me off.
Oh my God, I really hope that they don't.
If they do, I'm going to post it on Facebook.
As you should. Okay, so we're going to talk about trust, because before we talked about purpose and how brands need to stay grounded on their fundamentals because there's so much going on in everybody's world. Today we're going to focus on trust because there's a lot of conversation, and this is actually a precursor to a webinar that IMI is going to be doing next Thursday. So if you have more
IMI or Vanessa?
Well, I'm doing it. It's an IMI webinar. Yeah. So if we go to the next slide. Okay, so what's more important to people, Mark? A purpose for brands, a purpose they relate to, or a brand has a trusted name?
Oh, you didn't tell me. Is this a quiz again?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it started. We're kind of quiz, kind of in for insight. We're mixing it up a little bit.
All right. You gotta give me some warning on these things. I'm gonna go with a brand that has a trusted name.
Well, yeah, because that's what we're talking about, trust. So I'm really glad.
I figured you made it easy for me.
So I'm really glad that you picked that. It is. So a brand that has a trusted name is substantially more important to people than a brand having a purpose that they relate to. And if you go to the next slide, This is how big it is. So this is in Canada. 27 million Canadians have purchased a brand because it's a trusted brand name. That's 71% annually. So that's how much trust can actually accelerate your brand and how important it is. So if you go to the next slide, let's look at that a little bit deeper. Those who identify as male or female, which one is trust more important to in their decision-making process?
Female.
It's actually exactly the same.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so that was surprising to me as well, and everyone that we polled said the same thing. But let's look a little bit deeper, because that's where you can't take things always at face value.
Right.
You have to dig deeper. So does it skew older or younger? The importance of trust.
Younger.
So in females, interesting, it's younger millennials.
Yeah.
But boomers. So look at the 74% boomers. Look at males. Look at the boomers male. 80% of males that are boomers are influenced by trust. That's more so than the younger generation, and significantly more so. So again, you just never know. So you have to understand your facts and understand who your audience is to know where you need to play with trust in everything else you're doing with your brand.
And you need to understand you could have used my picture for this slide.
Yes. Yeah.
They got a black guy there, so I'm in the 56 to 64. That guy's not. Come on.
That's fair. You know what? Next time I will bring your picture in so we can see you 2 times on the screen.
Okay.
Okay, so the last one. Can a brand regain trust if it's lost?
I'm going to say in the spirit of Tylenol, yes.
Okay. So yes. But there's 30% of people, and again, it depends on what you do and how deep the trust is lost and exactly what your actions are. But 30% of people, you can't get their trust back. 65% you can, but you have to go and apologize. You have to say sorry. You have to repent. There's so many things you have to do that will take up your time and your energy, or you have to pay out cash, compensate, make it right. So the point for me is, why lose trust in the first place? Why risk it when you're going to be spending all of your energy trying to regain it back? You could be spending your energy on other things to accelerate your business.
Although one of the hard things in this day and age is you don't always have entire control over perception of your brand. So if a group of activists or people decide that they want to smear your brand, does that not impact trust? And does that not put you in a position where it's hard to recover?
Yeah, it does. But it's more about exactly what you do as a brand. So if you have advertising that is misinformation, if you say things, if you do things as a brand, activism definitely plays a part, but that's a very, very small percentage.
Okay.
So I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about that side of things.
So United not necessarily flying the friendly skies when they're handcuffing people to wheelchairs and dragging them out.
Well, listen, we don't know what it's done to their business, and maybe that was just a small thing in the grand scheme of everything else they've done. So again, it depends, but why do something?
No, I get it.
To lose trust.
That is fundamental. A brand is a promise, right? That's the most fundamental nature of a brand.
Well, it's like a person. If you think about a person in a personal relationship, if I all of a sudden did something that skewed differently and made you lose trust in me, it's really hard.
You're getting close, for the record. You're skating near the edge in case you want a little warning light like you have in your car or blinkers.
My warning lights don't work anymore. So just in summary, so it's essential. It's going to accelerate your brand. Some are more influenced than others. So know your audience. Don't just assume. And you can get it back, but not from everyone. So why chance it?
Awesome. I think this is going to be a great setup for the rest of our show.
Yeah, exactly.
So one thing we know, it's back to hockey season, and we can trust the Toronto Maple Leafs to not win the Stanley Cup. So let's go to Vegas to get ourselves in the spirit of hockey. things are a little happier in the land of the Golden Knights in Las Vegas than they are in the land of the Raiders these days. I don't know, Vanessa, if you followed much of what's gone on with John Gruden, the ex-Las Vegas Raiders head coach.
Yes, I have. Of course I have.
So let's just put this in your mind for a second. Football, to me, is the ultimate team sport. And having been able to coach football for a long time, one of the things is you were asking people to lay their bodies on the line. It's a physical sport. You talked earlier about brand trust. Let's think for a second, if you're Carl Nassib, the first openly gay active NFL player, and you're on a team where your head coach, besides all the other stuff, we're going to leave race out of this for a second, besides all the misogyny, has used the F word, has used anti-gay language, has used derogatory terms. Would you lay your body on the line for that coach?
No, I wouldn't. But that's when you also make the choice as a player of, then he'd be giving up what he loves. And why should he have to do that for the coach? So amazing that it's the coach that's going by the wayside. Hopefully that continues to happen more, and it's not just, talked about and then it falls underwater again. But no, I wouldn't want to.
I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's 650,000 emails that have come into question. This was an investigation on the Washington football team, quite frankly. Their owner, Dan Snyder, has been accused of many things, including having male employees perform cartwheels in boardrooms if their presentations were up to snuff, and trying to be derogatory to them by calling them cheerleaders, including his former team president, who traded topless photographs of cheerleaders with John Gruden while John Gruden was with ESPN, allegedly a journalist. It's all disgusting and shocking, but now we're running into the sponsorship pull-up. So let's have a look at this and what Skechers decided to do quite quickly.
I can get pretty grumpy when my footwear doesn't have proper support. Come on, batteries! I need a little juice here. Oh, you call that pressure? I'll show you pressure! Luckily, I got Skechers Arch Fit that gives you the support we all need. Try Skechers Arch Fit, certified arch support.
NFL coach and former Monday Night Football analyst John Gruden announcing his exit as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders after emails uncovered as part of a separate investigation revealed a torrent of sexist, racist, anti-gay language aimed at a slew of targets ranging from players to league officials. It was learned Gruden used a racist trope to describe NFL Union Chief DeMaurice Smith in a 2011 email, writing Dumborius Smith has lips the size of Michelin tires. Then the floodgates opened last night with a New York Times report detailing even more troubling emails showing Gruden using offensive language to insult NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, also calling the league's first openly gay player Michael Sam a queer, disparaging players who protested during the national anthem, panning the hiring of female referees, and mocking league efforts to reduce concussions.
This was a man who signed a $100 million contract to coach football. You'd think he'd be busy enough. But you talked earlier about brand trust. So what are your thoughts here? Skechers has dumped him. Madden's dumped him. Take us through what, connect us back to IMI Weekly Pulse and what's going on in this Gruden controversy.
Well, one, of course, as you said, it's disgusting. And these are our leaders. And so these are the athletes in the next generation are taking cues from these leaders. It's gross. And I'm really glad that this is all coming out and they're being held to account. And that holding to account also goes to the sponsorship. And if you are a brand and you're aligning yourself with these people, as a brand owner, when I was leading brands, it reflects on me, and it reflects on the trust that my customers or my consumers have on me. And I wouldn't chance losing that. There's so many options and where a brand can put their hat and put their money. I would pull out absolutely in this case as well.
We're just going to see more of this now. Former Washington football team employees are calling on their sponsors, everybody from Verizon and others, to take action. So if you were counseling Verizon and they're a current partner, a big partner of the Washington football team, a big partner of the NFL, what should they do? What's the right action?
Really take a solid look as to why you are partnering with these organizations, and is it actually impacting your brand enough to stay aligned with them in a positive way?
Okay, so let's leave Gruden the jerk behind, and let's talk about a more lovable coach, Ted Lasso.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ted Lasso. I'm the new head coach of the Tottenham Hotspurs, and I'd like to talk to the Queen, please. A lot of small similarities. Yeah, do we have any goals this season? Absolutely. We're going to win a lot of games. We're going to get in the playoffs. No playoffs. There's no playoffs. Again, my job just got a lot easier. Ties and no playoffs. Why do you even do this? Hey, that's, wow, 3 points. No points. No points. Why not? It's got to go in. Come on, Rob. You got to get it in there to get 3 points. 1 point.
They got like an application for a phone. I can learn the rules. What are these, trust exercises? Who's orange shoes there?
Gareth Bale.
That's Gareth Bale. Where he's from? He's from England?
Wales.
Wales. Wait, that's another country?
Yes and no.
How many countries are in this country?
4.
But I'm learning.
The Ted Lasso welcome wagon has arrived.
Ted!
So, you're heavily favoured this weekend. You think this will end your embarrassing streak of draws?
Lloyd, I've never been embarrassed about having streaks in my draws. You know, it's all part of growing up. I got a question for you. Has a team a la us ever won the whole chimichanga?
Not for 40 years.
Oh! No, you don't come through here. That's fine. Yeah, I got you. It's like Dukes of Hazzards. Y'all probably call it the Earls of Risk over here.
We've got work to do.
This is our turn to make history, and I believe we're going to do just that.
To the family we're born with, and to families we make along the way. To Richmond!
So this is interesting. You're seeing Netflix do shows on F1, boosting F1's popularity. Amazon Prime doing shows. The Leafs are in this year. But in this case, Ted Lasso, the show's producers, have just struck a deal with the Premier League to use rights, imagery, footage. And what was really interesting to me was not the £500,000 they paid, but that the Premier League stewardship only agreed to it after they were like, hey, we actually like this show. And I think in the early days, they were worried about the show mocking English football. To me, that's an interesting connection back to brand trust.
Yeah, it is. And it's also very positive because they're linking themselves to somebody who's very, authentic. I know you hate that word, but very real and very lovable. And so isn't that amazing that they're making that link with everything else that's going on in terms of coaches and all the negative? We're actually focusing on something that's very real and fun. And I mean, he's just fantastic. He's just so lovable.
I think there's a lesson here for smaller properties with your sports entertainment cause, which is you've got to look for unique media integrations. And I know this is at a big level, but people need to start thinking about how they do this in their local markets as well. And, another one that's just completely blown up, and you need to explain this for me, is this whole thing. We got Netflix and the Squid, I was going to call it the Squad Game, the Squid Game. Tell me what's going on here. We got Walmart doing stores. We got a startup doing sort of a bit of a, I hate the expression, guerrilla marketing around it.
Yeah. So the Squid Game, I mean, as you know, it's basically taking people who are struggling, putting them together, and it's the survival of the fittest. And so basically, if you play a number of different games, and if you don't win the $46 billion, I believe it is, then you die. Which, with kids, so the partnership with Walmart, with kids, it's about games. So they know what the different games are. They're not necessarily watching the show and seeing the violence that is part of it, which is really an interesting intersection that they can do both. Mm-hmm. Like my 10-year-old knows about it. She talks about it, but she's not going to be watching the show, but she plays the games. So to them, it's just about games.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
I know you play a lot of Flip Cup over in the office.
Yeah, we do that, and ping pong.
Absolutely. But no, it's an interesting tie. And I think as you see this explosion of this connection between products and merchandising, and, you know, really interesting, this startup by Jason Saltzman called Relief, which helps people who are, you know, cash strapped. They did this whole ambush where they put Squid Game like cards around Miami and no phone number, just like the show, and people could follow up. It was actually done by a Canadian agency, Wonder. I haven't met them, but kudos to them.
Kudos to them.
We talked at the beginning about the return to hockey. Are you a hockey fan?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm a huge fan when the playoffs are happening.
Okay.
But Mike watches every single game, and so it's on basically in our kitchen, in our main room all the time. So I'm watching it.
I think every single thing the Seattle Kraken have done so far has been amazing. You know, their partnership with Amazon, the Entitlement is Climate Pledge, which is Amazon's initiative, sustainability initiative. You know, they've just partnered people like, I think this is pretty genius that they've got the Pepsi Zero Sugar Express. I know you and I, our roots are with Coca-Cola, but I just think these activations, they keep rolling, they're consistent and strong. And again, I just love your thoughts around, you know, what do you think consumers feel about this? Are they buying into it's not the Amazon arena? Are they buying into Pepsi's recycling efforts and trying to eliminate waste and plastics?
Well, I think it's going to take time for consumers to buy in, and Pepsi has to show that they're sticking to it, because sometimes, you know, brands can just jump on the train and that's it. So I think that the proof will be in the pudding as this all rolls out. What I love about the Kraken is it's such a bizarre mascot when you really Beautiful. Think about it.
Yeah.
But the articulations that they have in the ads and in all the campaigns, it just brings it to life in such a beautiful way. And I know at the beginning we showed that in Vegas, we showed the Knights slaying the Kraken.
Slaying the Kraken, yeah, which they did with the help of the referees later in the game.
Yeah, well, exactly. But in that articulation of it, the Kraken actually stole the show. So
I think so. I actually felt the same.
Yeah. I couldn't stop thinking about the Kraken, which is also a little bit bizarre, but it wasn't the Knight that stole the show for me in that. So they should have maybe flipped it in a way.
Yeah,
but I have a heart for the Kraken. Gotcha.
Well, I'll make sure that we pour some Kraken when we have dinner. So listen, if there's anybody who really defines what his last call is, Stephen A. Smith. So let's have Stephen A. Smith open up this week's last call on Bourbon Street.
I mean, this is some of the stupidest nonsense I've ever seen. Just flat out stupid. So let me get this straight. If it is true, Jay, if it is true, Marcus, I am not calling Kyrie Irving stupid. Kyrie Irving, I happen to believe, is an intelligent brother whose heart is in the right place. But now you've regressed to an alarming level of self-righteousness. It not only makes you look hypocritical and untrustworthy, it makes you look what I know you are not, which is flat out stupid. It's the stupidest thing that I think I've encountered with an NBA player. You gonna sit up there and not play and not take a vaccine that evidently it's not you. You don't have a problem with it according to the reports. You just want to give a voice to the voiceless? Really?
I love him.
I do too. But let's do some background work here. Kyrie Irving was a bust in Boston. Kyrie Irving did not play in 9 games last year for no excuses. He just didn't want to play. He was only fined for 3 of them. Kyrie Irving is not a team player. Never has been. Never. He's a great player. Never has been. Never will be. Kyrie Irving can miss every single game for the Nets this year and still make $16 million. And he's a man for the fucking people. Okay? So let's also look at the other side of the situation. Because he won't get vaccinated, he can practice for the Nets in their private arena, but he can't play in their arena, which is in a public arena, because the New York City vaccine mandate says anybody who lives in New York has to be vaccinated to go in that building. But if you play for the Miami Heat or the Toronto Raptors and you're unvaccinated, you can actually go in that building. So there's 2 bizarre things here. One is Kyrie Irving, and the second is the rule. So the funny thing about all this is if I were Kyrie, I'd be like, I'm not here for the people. Don't give me that BS. You're not for the people. I'd be like, this is a dumb rule. So I want your thoughts on that, and then I have a bit of a follow-up.
Well, I think there are so many rules that are happening right now that are on top of each other and different than others, and it's really hard to keep up, to be perfectly honest, depending on where you are, and especially for someone like him who's traveling all over the place, and athletes who travel all over. Every place has a completely different rule. From a him perspective, my favorite that comes from him is this was not something I was prepared for. Knowing everything about the pandemic, knowing everything about vaccines, knowing everything about how it protects people, how could you, as a smart individual, how could you not be prepared for something like that?
And all this personal choice. Here's my opinion on the vaccine. I know we're getting to a place now where companies are now going to be struggling with, they have the right to fire people. They want to get rid of their workforce. For me, I equate the vaccine to being a driver, okay? If you don't want to wear your seatbelt, go ahead. I don't care if you die. Go ahead. But you cannot drink and drive. Not taking the vaccine is not a personal choice. It's a community choice. It's the equivalent of drinking and driving, because you are now endangering me, you, my parents, our loved one, and our children. And that's my issue with all this anti-vaxxer, it's a personal choice crap.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that one.
So we're going to close off with hockey. Good friend Lisa at Scotiabank, kudos, and Caleb at Rethink. Scotiabank's just launched their new platform, Hockey for All. It's great seeing you again, Vanessa.
Nice to see you as well, Mark.
And we're going to close out with the newest spot from Scotiabank, Oh Canada.
Shouldn't he be playing basketball? Stick to basketball.
Come on, do they even have ice in China?
Women's hockey is just boring, okay?
Let's watch girls play.
Make me a sandwich. First Nations kids are too lazy.
You're never gonna make it, Ethan.
You're just gonna get hurt. Keep hockey straight.
Which locker room is he gonna use?
Girls hockey isn't real hockey.
Shouldn't this guy be coaching cricket?
Can he even skate?
Go back to where you belong.
Go back where we belong? This is where we belong.